across the street from Manning's. We went there in 1971 and sort of grew up with the Mannings across the street. Found out that they went to Hidden Valley Baptist Church, and so that's where we went. I don't know why that would happen, but probably Lord had something to do with that too. One of the great things about friends, and God always provides friends, but He doesn't provide a lot of Christian friends unless you go seek them. Lloyd was one of those that he didn't have to seek; they came to him. He was just a friend to anybody who would talk to him. At Hidden Valley Baptist Church, Lloyd and I served the church, and I would think that people who heard us talking would thought we were enemies. We would be working on something at the church, and he and I would argue, and he was good at it. And the arguments were about nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. And then we would go on and do the job and finish the job. But I always thought, does he mean what he's saying? No, he was just joking most of the time. 9 times out of 10, him and I would shake hands at the end of the day, and we'd go our way. But the one thing I admired about Lloyd was he was always ready to serve his God, our God, Hidden Valley Baptist Church, the people of that church. He was always ready to serve. I admired him greatly, and when he became so ill that they had to sell the church, sell the house in Southbrook subdivision, and move up to where Rusty lived. I wondered, what happened a lot there. Waxahachie, I better name that, okay. And but our kids grew up with Rusty and Amy and Roanna, and I'm reminded that God always provides a way. And when we come to a place where we go to a funeral or something like this, that's not the end. That's not Lloyd. Lloyd's spirit lives on. He's going to live on in all of us who knew him and spoke to him and knew him well enough to serve with him and share God's grace with him. He lives on in our spirits, and he will always be that way. I hope that when you smile, you will remember Lloyd's face, because he was such a jokester that he would make you smile about something. Him and I went fishing. I'll give you this brief example. Him and I went fishing at Lake Conroe in his boat. He drove his boat. Well, he drove over a stump, hit a stump in the middle of the lake, and started taking water. We had to beach the boat up on an island. We finally got somebody to come see us and pick us up out of the boat. Lloyd would not leave that boat. He stayed there until somebody came back. He said, "This is my boat. It's going with me." Well, we finally got the boat out of the water and got it back to Houston, and he patched that boat up, and we went fishing again. God is good. I want you to know that that Lloyd is not passing away. He never will pass away. He will always be a part of us. I will remember him as a dear, dear friend, a confidant, if you would, too, in serving at the church. He could talk to me about anything. It didn't matter what it was. He could talk to me and tell me his little secrets or whatever else. And he would tell me about the IRS and about Internal Revenue that he served so well. And to know Lloyd, you would know that he would be a jokester. But he, in seriousness, he dealt in multi-million-dollar accounts for the IRS overseas, and was a very intelligent man. You didn't think it when you're talking with him, but he was a very intelligent person. I would hope that when you leave this place today, you will remember the good things that passed. Not the bad things, but the good things. And Lloyd was a dear, dear friend, and I appreciate him very much.
Sometimes it's a little bit of uncertainty in a memorial service. If someone shares, then there are those that say, well, maybe I should have. And, we couldn't contain all the things you'd want to say in this service. And so you just keep sharing. You keep talking about things and make some calls and contact each other and remember and call Wanda and remind her of crazy things that went on. And she might remind you of some others. And she might even remind you of some things that Lloyd told her about y'all. You never know how that works. Once you start sharing, you just open it up. There are some other things that I've been asked to share. from his grandson JT. He says, I remember every time you asked him where somebody was, his response was always, gone fishing. Every time him answering the phone, hello, this is me, is that you? I remember long fishing trips and that dilapidated shack in the Gulf. I remember him not stopping on the way home from those trips and my brother needing to stop and he wouldn't stop, and so he had to use a Coke can. Now, I'm just reading. I remember taking apart a broken VCR with him just to see what was inside. That's a fun grandpa to do that. And I remember him coming up every time to do our taxes. There are lots of other things, but those are some thoughts from JT. And then we have these thoughts also from Stephen. I was asked to write down my favorite memory of my Papa. I thought of this long and hard, but could only come to one conclusion. I have no one favorite memory of my Papa. Every memory I have of him is precious. See, my Papa was a truly amazing man, and what I will remember him most for is how he just wanted everyone around him to be happy. Every waking hour of the day we spent with him, he used to try and make us laugh. I can't recall many moments that I spent with him that I wasn't laughing or happy. So it won't be one specific thing I remember about him. It will be the many things he did to make me happy. Whether it be wrestling with me, my brother and sister, throwing the football with me, showing me how to crack a pecan. And one of the dearest things I remember about him is when he would take me fishing. We all know how much he loved to fish, and probably the greatest gift I ever received was from my Papa. He gave me his old flat bottom aluminum boat so I could start my own fishing adventure. Is that the same boat? Okay, I was just checking. I thought you need to have a little bit of background on that boat. So I could start my own fishing adventures. I still have that boat, and every time I'm in it, I can't help but think of him and how he'd love to be out there with me. One day I'll get to see him again, and we'll go fishing together once again. Sarah's going to come also and share a poem that she's written, and then after that, Rusty's going to come and share some words about his dad as well. Sarah, you come.
Sorry, I'm really short. I wrote this poem a few months ago, actually. It's called Stilts. When I was 8, I saw someone walking on stilts. This sight was nothing less than amazing to me. I told my Papa about it. He went out back and fashioned a pair just for me. Nothing much, 2x4s and a spot for my feet. But to me, they were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. My most prized possession, built out of love. A special moment between my Papa and me. His greatest joy is to make other people happy. Driving the van for the old ladies, mowing the church lawn after a long, hard week, taking me and my brothers fishing. And man, does he love seafood. He used to rock me in his lap, making me laugh until my sides split. He'd call me cowgirl, and when he quacked like Donald Duck, I just couldn't handle it. He was the man that made me stilts, laid back, easygoing. He's made my life so inspiring. But when my Papa got diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it wasn't too long until he got his fingers caught in a table saw, and they took his tools away. The man that made me stilts is fading away, trying desperately to hold on to who he is. He just wants to see you happy. Now he calls me cowgirl because he doesn't want me to know he can't remember my name. Alzheimer's is a slow procession to heaven. The soul doesn't get to leave quietly. It gets angry because there are so many missing pieces. It fights to stay because it's not time to leave yet. But Alzheimer's, it doesn't care. It continues to chip away. My Papa is a shadow of the man he used to be. You could tell him he doesn't like fish and he'd agree. It happened so quickly, years of slow forgetting, then all at once, he didn't remember anything. I became too big for rocking in his lap long ago. But after he got diagnosed, he would look at me as if I was 8 years old, call me cowgirl, rock me in his lap. We would laugh until our sides split, and for once, Alzheimer's didn't win. He was the man that made me stilts, whose greatest joy was to make others happy.